happens if they run out there and they go 2-5? I refuse to believe that they're going to go worse than 2-5. But if they do, that's probably a different conversation. If they go 2-5 and we're sitting here next week and they're 8 games under 500, I know we talked about firing managers and it's crazy to do it, but like, do you say at 10-18, is that the manager just as a performative act? You say like, look, yeah, is he really the guy that's most at fault here? No, but I mean, there's a difference between, hey, we're off to a slow start and like dumpster fire 8 games below for a team that has World Series expectations. Like, I think it probably has to be a conversation. I mean, dude, and I don't want to like relitigate this. We spent a lot of time doing it on Friday, but like it reaches a point of absurdity where you're just like, well, what else can we do? Because I can't fix 4 spots in the lineup and I have to do something.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I'll give you this. The one more thing I'll say is like, it's not like Rob Thomson's long for this. He's not going to be the manager in 2029. So like, it's not like you're casting off a shooting ascending star of the coaching ranks.
Yeah, no, I get that. And look, I mean, that might be the decision that they make. That might be the path that they go. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. I don't, I don't think it is. I don't think that solves anything. Like I'll be honest with you, Bob. If you're 10-18 and you fire Rob Thomson and you say whether it's Don Mattingly or Dusty Wathan or whoever else, bring up a guy from the minor leagues, whatever. Do you think that the team's in a better spot? Is the team better at that point? Oh, that'll fix it.
I mean, look, I understand the crux of your point. I mean, I think a lot of guys lose their jobs that don't deserve to over time, and it's just the nature of sports. And when you see 7 different leaks, you can't really find a way to patch 6 of them. Sometimes you just do what's I'll use the business cliche, but the low hanging fruit, right? Like you just grab what you can, and maybe that's what they do. And I think if I were Rob Thomson, and I would look at this week and say like, there's a decent chance that if this thing really goes off the rails this week, that I might be the guy that has to pay for this. And
yeah, I'm sure he's thinking it. But this is what why I come at it from a different perspective. And I say, you want to really impact that locker room, that clubhouse. You change something in the clubhouse.
Who's a coach that's been fired in this city mid-season that you felt like that guy absolutely should be fired? That like it is their fault to a degree, and if they change this position, there will be a tangible benefit to it.
Well, I thought Girardi, that made a lot of sense. He didn't, from what I've learned over the time, being you were covering the team at the time, I wasn't. Yeah. And from what I've learned over time, it seemed that he wasn't well liked. He didn't particularly like the job that he was in. And so that was a bad combination. When the players don't particularly like the manager and the manager doesn't particularly like his job, well, then that's somebody who probably should not be in that job, right?
Do you think that there comes a point this week where and I don't know if it was asked or not because I was not in the room, but do you think like a player almost needs to stand up and say like, it's us, it's not him. Rob can win. Rob is the guy. Like, does he need that? And are you almost surprised like that hasn't occurred? Like I know they like him. And I know that he has the respect of most players, but there was a pretty big name last year that was a very big part of that clubhouse in the way that it felt in Nick Castellanos, who did not, as we've come to learn, have that level of respect. And I just wonder, is there a little bit more of a bleed over? Is there a little bit more of a dissension than we know about? Or is that really just a one-off? And because a guy that had some clout, man, like it's not the 26th guy on the roster.
Yeah. I started to wonder this a little bit last year. Remember, I think I mentioned it on this show. I don't remember if I did, but I'll tell the story again anyway. I apologize if I said it a second time. The end of the season, the Minnesota Twins come in, right? If you remember last weekend of the season last year. And I went over and talked to Cody Clemens, right? And I remember talking to him about, how frustrated he was at the beginning of the season. Like he made the team, which surprised a lot of people because he wasn't a real fit as the 26th guy, but then wasn't really given a chance to play. And, and I remember asking him, about like what it was like, those conversations with the new organization about what his role was going to be, et cetera. And he would always say, like, hey, listen, there were some people in that organization that were great. They were honest with you. They were upfront. He said, and then there were some people who told you what you thought you just wanted to hear. And so I never quite knew exactly who he was talking about. Now, he could have meant Rob was one of the guys who was upfront and honest, or he could have meant Rob was one of the guys who just told you what you thought he wanted you to hear, right? So, like, you hear that, and you're like, okay, so it's not as, hunky dory as maybe they try to make it out to be. Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I don't get the sense that there's guys in there who don't like Rob. Like, currently, like the guys who've been there for a long time. I get the sense that they all pretty much like their manager. So I don't look at it the same way.
Well, then anybody that's listening to this that kind of wants action, wants the blood here, you could make the point, or they could make the point. That's great that they like them. Like little kids like their binkies too. And there comes a point where you got to take it away. And, whether that be Kevin Long, who they have all his respect for, like it's sometimes, is there something to be said for? And I think this is more of a philosophical question than specific to this Phillies team, because I don't think there's any way to know, but sometimes is there a situation where you hurt them, you take the guy they like, you take the thing that they're comfortable with and say, like, wake up. And does that rattle the cage a little bit? And
that's a traditional thing that sports teams do, right? Like they don't have the management above the executives for a sports team try to cover their own mistakes by making a manager or a head coach a scapegoat, right? Like that's happened forever, and they've done it. Teams do it to try and jumpstart their players and say, look, we can't get rid of all you. We had to get rid of this guy. So now it's on you. Like they kind of put it, but let's be honest, it's always on them. It's always on the players. It's just kind of a messaging thing that they're trying to do. And look, fans would probably love it if the Phillies did that. But what I'm telling you is there's a difference between what happened in 2022 and what this team is experiencing right now. What happened in 2022 was a talented group of people who were being led by a guy who didn't want to do the job, right? And they had a bad relationship. What you have here is a talented group of people, maybe not as talented anymore, but a talented group that is being led by a guy who's done it the same way and had great success with it. Right. So it's a different scenario this time around. And yes, the fans will get their blood and whatever. And that's fine. That's fine. But what I'm telling you is your result is not going to be what it was in 22.